here we go. I think, yes, we managed to start a stream. Well done, us. Uh, Welcome to the stream. I am Hat, your host, and with me tonight is not Garmin, but there is a Crow, and he's here with me to keep me company as I power wash stuff. Hi, Crow.
Hello.
Yeah. And in case I forgot to say, welcome to KBS One, the streaming platform, the community Canium. I always forget to say that, but now I have said it. And let's see
Mission
if
accomplished. Let's
Mission,
stream.
I know, we very successful streamer now. And let's
mention the name and then stream it. I mean, most people are like, "Oh, I'm gonna play a game for 8 hours." You just come in, say Canium SB1, see ya. You know,
it's just out of nowhere. And let's see who we've got in chat. We have Mishues, Mental Gen, welcome. And Mnemonic Man, Afternoons, he's here with us as well. First time chat, welcome. There's Krillzilla, good to see you, man. Usually a very habitual and frequent viewer. He's always here, good to have him. And we have, I'm not sure about this. I'm not a bot 3366911. I'm not sure about this character.
Fair enough.
As whether or not I have a new hat, I do not have a new helm hat. It's the one I always have. It's actually made by, the whole avatar is made by a fantastic guy called Stryker from the BPL, from the Black Pants Legion. And it was originally based on Helldivers, and on my shoulder, as you can see, is the very famous and most awesome avatar of Canium, which is Lord Sidebird. He is, as you can see there, calling in reinforcements. So yeah, so it's just very amazing. The waiting screen, you had a more metallic looking helmet and fancy. Yes, that's what I call the hat bust. It was a very nice drawn image of I think Zenith from the Black Pants Legion. I used him for at some point for reading a poem called "If" by Rudyard Kipling. So, but anyways, onwards to doing some cleaning. Actually, I have. Would you mind for a brief second, Crow, to keep these fantastic people entertained as I go check on my brewing tea?
Yeah, absolutely.
Fantastic. Thanks, man.
Yeah, no problem. All right, now that he's gone, let me just say I was not planning on entertaining you all, and that was a complete fabrication. I'm going to give you guys some facts about life. Fact number 1. I took my medication today, and that means it's a good day. Fact number 2, I have a USB of a dragon on my desk. Fact number 3, I also have a pile of checks that have been written out to me that I have to keep because my bank says if I don't, something bad might happen. So there's a box of them. Fact number 4, I'm apparently really low. Well, that's a hat problem. If I turn myself up too loud on my end, we get what's called clipping. And if I clip, and he decides to turn me up, it'll sound like garbage. Fact number 6. Maybe I can turn myself up if I believe. Maybe I can do this. Is this too much? I think it might be. There we go. Oh, I heard Hat fell down on the ground. Hopefully, Life Alert will be able to get to him. Yeah, let Hat do it, huh? All right. That is absolutely understandable. Oh, there he is. He's sitting down now.
And I'm back. Is Crow low? I don't know why you would be. I don't know why you would be. You should. Let me just turn you extra up on sound here. Try something again. Speak, dearest Crow.
I am speaking.
Excellent. Oh wait, I know why. I turned Discord a little down earlier today, and not just you. It's not you, but Discord in general.
Yeah.
Oh, there we are. I think everybody can hear you now.
Yeah, hopefully.
All right. I think hey means that they can now hear you very well. I'm really good at this streaming stuff. You can see I'm very professional. I do everything right the first time.
You know, I keep hearing the word professional streamer, and I have to ask, what in your mind is a professional streamer? Do you have an example?
How dare you?
I'm not trying to take the shit out of you. I'm just saying, like, is there an example of a professional that is something to aspire to?
I didn't. If it's more sort of a serious-minded question, no, I don't. I mean, I know what is considered a professional streamer. Usually, they're very sort of. They have a formula they follow. They usually say the same thing when a stream starts. There's a lot of, obviously, there's the strong sense of regularity. You know, you always start the stream the same time. I don't know. I'll just step on my own toes here because an hour late, but that's beside the point. So consistency obviously is the usual thing, but that's part of, I'm guessing, be professional. But I guess also down to it is that you get paid for it, which in the most strictest sense is the definition of being professional. Anything is that you get paid.
I get paid to stream? Do I?
I don't.
People give me money randomly, but I'm not getting paid by like it's like someone handing you like, you know, $20 and saying like, here you go, buy yourself something nice. It's like that. I don't get paid like as a, you know, an employee of something.
Right.
So that's why I'm like, and if you're a professional streamer, what is a definition of that? Like, what do you consider professional streamer aside from just being paid for it?
Well,
like, there's got to be other criteria because, you know, I could say like I get paid, you know, to move my car out of the way for my next door neighbor or whatever. I don't know. It was like, it just seems like a weird thing to start off with.
Right. The thing is, it sort of depends on a multitude of things, but I would say the first. I mean, I know I'm sort of repeating against what you just said, but there is the notion that if what you do as your bread and butter, or rather as earning your keep to keep yourself housed and to sort of go about your existence, by the strictest definition, I would say that is being a professional streamer. If you can generate an income that keeps you housed and keeps you going in your existence, that would, to me, be a professional streamer in the most strictest sense. Now, as for whether you are, I mean, because we're not talking about whether you're necessarily a good streamer, as in by the standards.
No, being a professional doesn't mean you're good at it. I know a lot of people who are professional plumbers that suck at it. Back in Cleveland, yeah.
But also, like, pure terms of taste, like of what I would consider someone worth watching, like, because there's obviously a clear divide about what loads of people consider entertaining to watch as a stream versus what I consider entertaining to watch as a stream. There's a huge difference. Yeah, I think that's the best I could do, is to stay within that realm of saying you earn your keep, you pay your bills by virtue of streaming. That's the best I can come up with, because otherwise if I go outside of that, it very quickly becomes a case of, well, I don't think this is very good streaming, so therefore you're not professional, and that's really not how that definition works.
That's conjecture. It's not. It doesn't really apply to the, you know, it's an objective opinion.
Subjective,
and what I'm trying subjective. Thank you. What I'm trying to figure out is how do you become this thing, because you have a job for everything. You know, you could definitely become a professional streamer, but the criteria for it is somebody who has an audience. Because you know, if anybody could just generate an audience, they wouldn't even require us to have a platform or even pay us for that. They would just do it themselves.
Right. Yeah. Well, precisely. And I think one of the ways you become, like, there are different things I've read about how you become a professional streamer, as in on your way to earning your keep.
Oh yeah.
Which involves the things I mentioned earlier. Like, you have to have regular. Like, if I were to be completely strict with this and sort of aspire to that in sort of greater sense, the one scheduled stream I have set up every Saturday that was supposed to start like a little over an hour ago, I would be on the dot every single Saturday without fail to start that stream, or somehow in a good time cancel said stream if I couldn't make it, so that, you know, I could keep the audience that's subscribed informed, etc.,
Yeah.
etc. That would be one of the things to do. And second of all, some kind of distinctive thing about my stream that would attract an audience, something that would set me apart from your average dude who just plays whatever stream, something that would attract people, that is either a gimmick or a personality or a multitude of these things, that is consistently mine and that people can recognize me for, so that I, in some ways, eventually develop my own quote-unquote brand. That's another thing.
Okay. So your streaming comes from the fact that you want to be more honorable to your friends and the people who watch you.
Yeah, I'm not as such.
So instead of a professional streamer, you're an honorable one.
I don't know. Maybe could be.
Because I feel like there's not enough positive terminology between professional and then people who are just doing it because they want to.
Right.
It's like, because there is, once you involve money in any of this, people just immediately start turning it into how they treat every other job that they've ever had. And that, to me, is the mistake, personally speaking. I can't say that that's true. I mean, there are people who make it work amazingly. But for my personal taste out of it, I prefer just hanging out with everyone, friends and the people who join to watch. Because to me, it's like having people join you on the couch while you're playing a video game.
Yeah.
And they come in to hang out and drop their 2 cents in. And I try to be as active with the people talking as much as possible, because they're not just chat. You know, these are people out there.
Yeah. No. Absolutely. And I mean.
Yeah.
I guess.
Except for Maze. Maze Hughes is not a person. That is a creature of dark and evil that also is very wholesome.
Yeah. Could very be. Oh, Krillzilla just said a whole lot. He says, in a browser game I play, whenever my alliance starts a building project, something will go wrong. Parts will be missing, so we can't start. Work piece will be missing, so we can't start either. And be forgotten to refer, blah, 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 blah. And the whole thing is delayed every single time. And we consider construction professionally done as long as there's something is happening. If anything goes too smooth, it's seen as unprofessional luck. Yeah, that could, yeah, no, that's, I know this very well from, sometimes we get lucky here as well on KBS1 and doing everything exactly right and it turns out the right way. No, but to get back to your point, Crow, I'm with you when it comes to this whole thing about inviting people to your couch and in sort of a virtual way and sort of playing a game. And there is something to be said about the motivation for why you stream. Like, you could stream, I suppose, for the reason of wanting to do that thing I just explained about creating your own brand and attracting an audience and all the rest. I mean, it would be nice if there are more people coming to see this stream, but I'm not doing this to create like a professional stream where we have this brand that is called KBS1 or something like that. It's like KBS1 was more like an idea. Like, I've always wanted to try and stream. I've always wanted to see what it's like and see if I could find any fun in it, and to see if, because I had been having problems for a long time in just playing video games in general, where I don't know, for one reason or another, I wasn't enjoying video gaming that much, and I thought maybe there's some entertainment to be had, and maybe enjoyable if I sort of consistently do so from the point of view of wanting it to sit down and sort of talk to the world about what I'm doing and what I'm thinking, and maybe with good friends and stuff like that, as for cozy's sake, for sakes of having a cozy time, like I said, and having a kind of additional experience with the game besides just playing.
Well, I will say I have a bit of an advantage in this platform. Not because I've streamed before, because I streamed a long time ago, back before Twitch was even a thing, and I did it mainly because I have grown up always going over my friend's house, because I didn't own consoles. I didn't own my own PC or anything until I was much older. So I'd always have to rely on my friends, or if family members had stuff, to go over there and play on their stuff. But I always felt weird just taking their console and playing a game by myself. So I would always do it with the hope and validation that they would want to hang out and play too. And then it became kind of easier for me to hang out with just about anybody, including my friends in college, where I would hang out with them and we'd play anything like this or anything really, and just hang out on the couch. And we did that. I've been doing that since I was 6. Since I've been able to go out to other people's houses on my own, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And I want to bring that to people. I like that I have an advantage on, because I've been doing this for a while. Like, I couldn't invite my friends in my own house because my family was very embarrassed by everything. I don't know what their deal was. They are very weird people. So my friends were never allowed in my house, and I always did everything on the front porch. At one point, when I did get a Sega Genesis, like way later, I invited my friends over because they all had PlayStation and all this other stuff. I still had a Sega, and I liked Sega.
Me too.
And we'd play Street Fighter, and I would put it on the little TV out in the front porch, and then people from the neighborhood who normally never talked about video games came over to play. And our front porch became very popular for that. And it was a little black and white TV. It wasn't like some big giant CRT. I mean, this thing was like the size of a little bit smaller than your standard monitor. Like it was a very small little TV.
Right.
And we'd all just sit there and play it and talk shit to each other. And eventually we ended up playing a lot more than that. One of us would take control over there was a couple of games, I forget the name of one of them, where you had to do like a bunch of puzzles and stuff. And so we just take turns trying to solve it and be like, "No, man, you're doing it this way. You got to do it this way." And then we just talk about stuff going on in life.
Yeah.
Not knowing that we had set something or created a precedent for this. And I've talked to a couple of friends, one of which is actually getting married.
Oh, nice.
Next month. Yeah. He's been building his own house. And so now he popped the question once he finished.
Dude, that's brilliant.
Yeah, he's a very traditional guy. And even he was just like, "Yeah, I remember hanging out on the porch and talking about all that stuff." And then he saw me stream once, and he was like, that is exactly what we used to do. So what I do on the Courtesy Flush and what I do here with you is exactly what I used to do on my own front porch.
Yeah.
And, eventually once I got my own place to stay, I invited my friends in. And I think the first apartment I had, we played a lot of GameCube on that egg crate, let me just say. We played a lot of GameCube. A lot of Smash Brothers. Wasn't the only thing we had, but that was like the one main reason a lot of people came over. We would just talk about work and whatever was going on. Yeah. And then, I don't know, it just became kind of like this almost traditional thing for me to get into. So I've stuck with it for most of my life. And I ask people when they say, "I want to be a professional streamer," and I go, "Well, do you want to have fun? Or are you just here to make money?" If you want to make money, there are way better ways, a lot easier to do them. But if you're thinking that you'll have fun making money, maybe in the beginning, when you actually start making money, when you do that for the first time, that's going to probably feel amazing.
Oh, yeah.
But then afterwards, you're expectation is that you're going to keep doing it. A lot of people who, everyone says the same parable about don't do what you love as a job.
Oh yeah, no. If there, I could talk for hours about this exact point.
The egg crate GameCube, mad respect. Yes, exactly. And I know a lot of people can reflect with that. But yeah, dude, exactly.
So
what you're saying.
I grew up loving video games. I had a Sega Genesis as well. The only PlayStation I ever had in my life was the very first PlayStation. I've never had a PlayStation ever since. But that's beside the point. I was gonna say, like, I grew up. I'm a bit older than Crow. I had a Commodore 64. I had I had a Sega. The one before the Genesis, it was called Sega 16-bit.
The Master System, I think.
Yeah, I think that might be the one. And I grew up playing loads and loads of video games, and I love playing video games. It's sort of like the main, like, really big part of my life. And then it's wrong to say that I'd made the mistake, but I think on hindsight, I made the choice of getting into the game industry. I was already sort of technically able in different aspects, and I ended up getting an education that was in programming and stuff like that, and I went into the game industry. And I got to work with a video game that I had played a lot, which was EVE Online. And I got to work, I went to Iceland, actually, to work for a company called Crowd Control Productions. And in hindsight, like, I will say, like, I had a lot of enjoyment being in the game industry. Like, don't get me wrong, I met a lot of cool people. I got to be in touch with a lot of cool technology. I learned a lot of things. I mean, there's all kinds of upsides to this, but there is also some downsides to this, for sure. And one of the things that I think irrevocably happened was that once I got to work with the game, as in building them and designing them and discussing them and stuff like that, your perspective on what games are and how you play them changes, like, permanently. And so I did that whole thing of making my hobby, or rather the thing that I did in my spare time, my job. And I know I'm sort of dancing around saying, like, it ruined gaming for me. That's sort of what I'm dancing around, but I want it to be a nuanced statement, because it didn't, like, only, like, it's not true to say that it's just completely ruined everything, but it did alter my perception of video games. It did alter my way of playing them, and also how I enjoyed it, and in some cases didn't enjoy it any longer because of what I had experienced, because of that experience of building video games and working with them. So there are drawbacks to making video games your job, insofar as, like, because it becomes a job. It becomes not the thing that you just do to turn your mind off and to go into a different universe and to sort of shoot the shit and experience a cool story and whatnot. All of a sudden, no matter what you do, almost, I'm not trying to make it sound too hyperbolic or exaggerated, but every time now that you play a video game, having worked with video games, part of your brain is analyzing what it's seeing, not in the sense of analyzing the game as how to solve it or something like that, but more in the sense of how the mechanics work and what's going on, and sort of what the design is and what the game loop is and why this works and why this doesn't work and blah blah blah, one thing and the other. And it's distracting. It sort of pulls some of the soul of enjoyment out of the experience. I don't want to exaggerate it too hard, because I don't want it to sound like, back. No,
you have to understand. I can relate with that. I got into making videos when it was around 2006, somewhere in there. I got into making video stuff more often. I used to play with cameras all the time, but never had a chance to, like, make anything. And I did that. And then when I went to school in 2009, I was offered up to go to college because my friends were all going to community college. And they saw that I haven't been doing anything other than just, playing games and recording videos and stuff. And they said, hey, well, if you're already doing that, why don't you just go and get a degree so you can learn how to use the equipment for real? So I did. I didn't get the degree, though. I did go for 2 years. I ended up getting a lot of work because I found that I really enjoyed working with people who had creative interests and like-minded professionalism about things. Not in a sense of like, let's lock it up and keep it tight, but people who were very casual and still enjoyed making stuff. So I was like super cool with anybody who wanted to get in on any of that for any reason, because I just thought it was nice to have like a nice community thing. Because growing up, like right around 2006, like I was already like 19, so I was like I wanted to have what I didn't have for my neighborhood again. I wanted to have that like camaraderie because I'm not a super social person. Yeah. I people say like, oh, you don't sound like I'm just not super social. Never have been. And it's not because I don't like people. It's just, it's really hard for me to stay in a group that's too big after a while. Especially like in some Discords, like it just gets to a point where there's just too many voices and my brain is having trouble connecting them. And that's just a personal problem. I have nothing against anybody. And I'm just, my mind needs to recharge. And I think there's some people out there who can relate with that.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, I can relate it to a point. Yeah. And also, I mean, with creating the experience, I mean, part of the reason why I created the gaming community at all, Canium together with Garmin, was partly for the same reason that because as you go along, like the people, like I didn't do as much port sitting and playing video games, but I did play video games with people in the local community that I was in. And but in order to sort of maintain that and also play the games that I wanted to play in the way that I wanted to play them, I got together with friends or people online and sort of sought that experience out. And for the same reasons to have that social experience of just shooting the shit while you play a game. But we were also like, I guess the difference here was that we played competitively quite a lot. Like I was always what's called a PvPer, like someone who was.
Yeah, you like competitive gaming. Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. I was always like a combat guy. I was always like thought the thrill of fighting other people in video games was really cool. Which I played a lot of Street Fighter, played a lot of like combat games, like shooter games. Like one of the big games that I played a lot in my youth was when Quake 1 came out. Like this is where you start feeling old because like, oh, I was there when Quake 1 was released. Oh boy. But no, that was one of the first competitive games that I played was Quake 1, and I was really, really into it.
Well, that's how John Carmack met his wife, a Quake 3 tournament.
There you go.
Or I think it was Quake 2. I don't recall. I think it was one of the Quakes. He was at a tournament. He met her there.
Fuck yeah, that's cool. Krillzilla asked, what did they do? Fly through a hive ship? At this point, with how dirty this Thunderhawk is, I probably something.
It looks
like
that. They just got dropped in an ashtray.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, would you want me to stream this on Discord so it's easier for you?
No. I've got the Canium stream open and I got the chat open. Yeah, you don't have to waste resources on that. I could see it just fine.
Oh, splendid.
You're not playing anything that I need to hear the dialogue immediately on.
Yeah, exactly. Ashtray, like a giant intergalactic ashtray. That's what.
Or a volcano. I mean, they might have landed in a volcano, which is very 40K.
Could be. Hi, Lord Grimace.
I mean, if everybody else is landing on the only dry spots in, a volcanic planet, might as well just land in the lava.
You might as well. I mean, this could probably.
They're not going to do it.
Oh yeah, no. Yes, we are cleaning War Machine. We are cleaning a Thunderhawk. I guess I should have mentioned this in the beginning of the stream. There's no Rogue Trader today. Different circumstances was such that there was no Rogue Trading, and we were a little delayed. So that's fine. But we're here, and we're cleaning like the Imperial War Machine now.
Well, I told Hat earlier, I just didn't want to play it without Garmin, because he said we could just play it, and I was like, well, I want to have Garmin there. I don't mind if he plays without me, but there's something about like having Garmin in on that makes me feel like it's part of his journey too. So
Sure.
it's always nice.
Yeah. But what were we saying? Oh yes, video games. Like there is some truth to saying that be careful of making. I'm not. I mean, creating video games can be very rewarding, and I am currently learning a game engine called Godot. It's called.
Yes.
It's spelled Godot, but I found out.
Yes, Godot is. Yes, I know. It's.
Yeah.
I think it's a Hebrew term or something like that.
I don't. I actually
yeah.
don't. Yeah, I don't know what it is.
It's a different
but
language. It's not.
yeah.
It's not English as far as I know.
No, it sounds slightly and suspiciously slightly French, but I hope it's not. No,
Could be
no,
French, yeah.
Could be a little French. No hate against the French, of course. Although just because French, because yeah, French. So there's obviously some reward and enjoyment on making video games. I'm just saying, if anybody ever had that thought, just choose it with care. Just understand that there's always. Does it sound too harsh to say there's a price to pay to do so? Like I don't mean as in like once you step into the path of the great game creating experience, you shall forever resent your video game playing. No. You can still play video games, and I'm sure not everybody sort of gets the experience the same way as I have, as in where I suddenly start perceiving games a lot differently. I'm sure the effect is different, and in some cases less so for others. I'm just saying, choose with care. That's all I'm saying. Because there's definitely rewards to doing that. Like, I got to meet some super cool people and have some super cool experiences going to, like, game conferences, going to huge... I've had huge experiences with game fests, or rather what was called the EVE Fan Fest, and all that kind of stuff. Like, those were super, super cool, and I would never want to not have been without those, to meet all the people there and to see what we did, and the fan base excitement and all that kind of stuff. Like, lots and lots of fun. So there are positives and negatives, and it is true that there are those experiences where, like the classic experience where you sit there all night at the company office, you're developing, and then you take some time off to play video games together. You order pizza, you play board games, you hang out and watch movies and stuff like that. That's a real thing. Like, that does happen. And I wouldn't want to be without those experiences. You go to cool restaurants and all that kind of stuff. Like, lots of cool things.
I was gonna say, like, your entire thing that you wanted to do with game design. We talked about this before, but it's because you're like tired of making products for other people when you have a hunger to make one for yourself, and it's hard to feel that validation from other people because you're used to working in a team, and when you're on your own, it's like, where are you going to get that validation from? Your friends will always back you up, but, it's game design. Nice words aren't going to make a game.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. Like, this is one of the returning things that I struggle with, for sure, which is that I try to, like, if I want to make video games, but there is a part of this where I have to accept that first of all, that not everybody's going to be as excited about this prospect as I am.
Oh yeah, it's the same thing when we make videos for Tex Talks BattleTech.
Yeah,
it's like we have like me and Huts will be ready to go on stuff, but there are other people who are just like, well, I have other obligations or whatever. It's not as important to them, and that's nothing against them at all. That's just it's a reality. And when you're used to making stuff with other people like you are, you kind of get like, there's something wrong with me, and it's like, no, you're just not used to working on things on your own and then inviting other people in.
Yeah,
and it just takes time to get there. That's coming from personal experience so far, and I'm thoroughly I'd say anxious, very anxious about anything that I'm working on, but specifically stuff that I'm doing for myself.
Yeah.
Ugh, man, so your feelings, dude, is totally understanding, validated by my own experience. And
Oh
hello,
well.
Kai.
Hey. I'm glad to hear that. In fact, because like it can sometimes be a little like disheartening or sort of like
You're a team
um
player guy. You're not somebody who's used to just, picking something up for yourself. You feel like you have to have a purpose for other people
yeah.
too.
Yeah,
It's
well,
like you're communal. That's why you
yeah.
do Canium the way you do.
Well, precisely, but yeah, exactly. Well, there is that also. Yeah, I'd love people to be involved and to like contribute to sort of like. I work best when I bounce. Like, it's not that I can't work out ideas for myself. I do this all the time. It's just I have a much better time of things if I have people to bounce ideas off of, and for people to like add their personal thing to it. I like it when people sort of get involved and give their like even just views on things. Like I remember I was building the Space Station 14. Excuse me, by the way. Space Station 14 map called the Canine class, which is a custom map that I created for the Black Pants Legion Space Station 14 server. And all the way through this, I continuously try to sort of involve people to sort of get people's feedback. It's like, hey, what do you think this should be? What should this department look like?
Yeah.
How do I do this? And anybody got any ideas for this? And it's, by the way, this is not a critique of people, but this is just saying like this was the experience I had, was that just silence most of the time, because people have other things that they're doing and they don't really know how to approach this, and that's so I'm not criticizing people.
Well, not every friend you have is going to have a good critique of what you're doing. And
Yeah.
I learned that lesson many, many, many times, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Because I hold nothing against them for that. Because after reflection of my youth, I'm like, yeah, I was pretty strong-hearted toward a lot of the things I was working on, and especially when I was younger, I always felt like if I was working on something with you, then maybe you could work on something with me. But that wasn't always the case, and that mentality got me into a lot of trouble. So I was very happy to finally get over that.
Yeah.
But it's very difficult, especially when you work on a team and you're kind of like in a community and everybody just kind of pitches in when they can. But when it comes to something like this, like your Space Station 14 ship that you made, there's not a lot of people who are super into map making.
No. Absolutely not. Michuse says, I remember that stream. That was a while ago, to be honest. I know nothing about SS14, but honestly, I like having something on in the background while I'm working. It helps me focus. No, I'm glad you enjoyed the stream. I streamed some of the... I specifically streamed some of the parts where I made robotics. I think I streamed where I made parts of security. I think engineering as well. And a couple of things like that. Yeah, no, I know people are into map making, and honestly, like before that, that's not true. I was about to say that's the first time I did map making in SS14. That's not true. The first map making I did, the very first thing, was a spaceship that was called the Praeta, which was, at the time, for a station, or a server called Frontier Station. And then later on, I created a few smaller spaceships, and then eventually the Canine class. And I was going to say, I have in several instances been a map maker, but I think more so out of necessity is the wrong word, but more sort of like whenever one of the things I once created was a map of Dwarven City in Neverwinter Nights 2. And I did that for the simple reason that I was playing on a server that was called Kornlund with a friend, a Danish friend of mine called Harms, and we wanted to build our own Dwarven city, and so somebody had to create this, and nobody was stepping up to do it. And I've sort of always been in the mindset of, well, if nobody else is gonna do it, then I am gonna, because we can't just sit around and wait for this to happen.
I'm the same way, man. I'm exactly the same, because I don't like it when there's indecision because people are afraid of stepping up, because then the anxiety of responsibility for something that's supposed to be fun just kind of infiltrates on it. And I get it. There's like a lot of nuance into how humans interact with each other. But there are times where I'm like, hey, snapping my fingers. Wow, you want to do something or what?
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
we only have one life. Let's go.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's exactly that point, especially with the we only have one life sort of thing. Like if we want to create something cool, if we want to whenever I hear the sentence like, wouldn't it be cool if we had X, Y, Z? I'm like, let's fucking do it, man. Let's go. Let's do it right now. It's like, yeah, but I don't know if just get going. It doesn't look. What are you afraid of? Like that it's gonna suck? That it's gonna be not exactly as how you want it? Who cares? Let's go. Let's do something. It'll be fine. So that's the approach I always took. Like these things are not scary, and this is also what reflects a lot of how I approach, for example, my professional life and stuff like that. Is that not to have much fear about what to do about these things. Just go. Because if you do something wrong, either someone's going to help you work it out by pointing it out, or you're going to get some kind of feedback, or you're going to realize it yourself and fix it, or it's going to be fine the way it is. Like no matter what, it's going to be fine. Like it can't really in that sense go wrong as long as you're doing something. I remember I watched a short clip of a guy from he has this thing. He's very well known in the game industry, does lots of streaming. Pirate Software, I think he is. He used to work for Blizzard. He said this thing once as well that I had already sort of worked out a similar thing, where he said that the only way to fail, in some sense, at any of this stuff is if you're doing nothing about it. That's the only real way to fail. As long as you're doing something, you're succeeding. Even if that succeeding means that you're doing something that isn't as cool as it might be, but you're on your way. You are on your way, and it's the only way to go anywhere is to do something. So that's the approach I always took with these things. And I always sort of slightly didn't like it not like, but it was more like I was sad that I didn't have more friends who clicked into the idea. It was like, you know what, you're right, let's fucking do this. What do you need? Like, let's go. And it's how things get built. It's really like we got the Dwarven City. Unfortunately, like the Dwarven City in Neverwinter Nights 2, unfortunately, it lived for about, I think, 2 or 3 weeks, and then the server finally died, and the guy who was hosting, like, he was a weird guy. He would sometimes disappear, and it just had its final moments where he would disappear for, I think, I don't know, was it a year or something like that, and the server was just gone, and people were begging him. It's like, can we please just have the server software and carry on? And he wouldn't listen. He was gone. And by the time he came back, the interest was gone. So I had spent months building this Dwarven City, and it lived for about 2 or 3 weeks after that. But it was a great experience, though, building because there was a vision behind that Dwarven City about, like, here's the entrance, this is going to be where we conduct trade, this is going to be where, like, the bar is, and this is where the mines go deeper, this is where people live, this is going to be where the graveyard is, not the cathedral, the more like the where people go to pray, and where all kinds of things. Like, it was a whole design things where we had documents out and doing stuff in paint. It was a lot of fun, and then the editor for Neverwinter Nights was pretty cool. But sorry, I've been going on for a while now. Please add something.
Well, no, that's the thing is you have you don't want to be misunderstood, and I get that. It's a part of my problem as well when it comes to trying to explain myself. I don't want to be misunderstood.
Yeah.
And dude, it's okay. Like, your projects are never going to be more interesting until you make them interesting. And if you're worried about other people not being a part of that project, then there are other people out there.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like, I know that's hard to like go, but my friends would be so cool if they could get in on this and that. But there are other friends out there, people who you've never met before.
No, it's
like
true.
There's people who make point and click games, and those aren't popular, but they have a following, and it's a community, and people in it love working on things and seeing what their fellow developers are building. It's nice, and the games themselves are good. They're better than they were in the 80s, because that's the thing. All those games in the 80s and 90s, the people who are doing them now, lessons learned. You know, like they're applying new things to them, and it makes them more exciting. So now they're no longer just a genre, but they're also a platform, which is fucking sweet.
Oh, definitely. There's so much to learn from the past. Like, I know that the experience I had increasingly with modern games was that they seem to be a repetition of what had already happened, and in some cases, in a completely boring way.
Oh yeah, I've been writing down. I have a notebook here, and it's got all of my thoughts and notes, and things that I'm interested in.
Yeah.
And I wrote down some things I don't like about modern games. Mass Effect, for one. I played with Hudson Goat and like trying to figure out what the modding scene is like. I love the mod. The mods have made the game totally different, and that it changed my opinion about how the game was, because originally, the original design was, here's a story, science fiction. You go in, and when you have to go to a planet, you land in a Mako. I love the Mako. And there's not really a whole lot to do in the Mako. You can blow things up. I love blowing things up. I love driving cars. But there wasn't a whole lot to do. And when there was something to do, it was drive here, hold the E button or F or X or whatever button you're pressing, and then a box will appear on your screen saying you've completed this task with some story flavor text. And if this was a game that was mostly text-based, like, old MUDs and things like that, I wouldn't have had a problem with that at all. But this was a game with 3D and all this stuff, and they all have budgets. It's super, like, high-end, and it just feels like it's the vision of many, many ideas trying to be congealed into one, and that's what makes it amazing, but also kind of hard to understand. Because for instance, a lot of the newer games, they like to put like busy work in there. They always like to have a big open world map, and they're like, look at all this stuff you can explore. And then you go and look at the map, and there's a bajillion icons with a bajillion things that you could do in any of these icons. And they're like, this is content, right? Yeah, on paper. But when you play it, it's boring.
Yeah.
You just drive up to some icon, you clear out some base or something, and then they go, well done, you did a great job, here's your gold star. and then you go back to wherever you came from, hub of planets or whatever, and you buy more weapons so you could go back out and do the same thing. And I said, I have a job. I already have one. I don't want to drive far to get there, but I have a job.
Yeah.
So why do I have to do that in the game? And it's a pattern that they continue to build on, because there's an addictive quality for people who like to complete things. And those are the people that they build those games for, are the people who come home, either want a quick game, or they want to be able to feel like they're accomplishing something outside of their work. And I think that's a little manipulative, personally. I don't like that kind of game design idea. And a lot of game developers will go, well, yeah, it's not what there's a lot more going. And I'm like, dude, come on. At the end of the day, you can say how easy it was, what goes into your soup, right? You could tell me every ingredient you put in the soup and how you made it and how hard it was. But when I taste the soup and it tastes like shit, it don't fucking matter, dude. Like, that's all I'm trying. It's like, at some point, you need to have like a change in all this. And big corporations, they love making things that are safe because they are based on investors. Part of the reason why Steam hasn't been conquered is because it's a closed company. It's not an open investment company. People have tried to conquer Steam, but you can't, because they're not open to investors. They're not private.
Also, we have just received a hydrate, so I actually have to get something to drink real quick. Hold on.
Then you have tea. It's my brain book. Yes, that is my brain book. Mecha Crizilla says, I just had a talk today with a guy who was having some RP before. I do have absurd and weird ideas, rough outlinings, or stories or characters, but fail at putting stuff together in an organized way, so it mostly ends up being an inconsistent mess. It's fine if I interact with people that could keep consistency, so I can lean on that just to infuse some weird. I can understand that. I can totally. That's relatable as hell. Back to cleaning. If it would be better if you would just be growing a puddle of muddy water gathering underneath the drain sink somewhere. Yeah, probably. I think that would be a good feature for this game.
That would be a great effect.
Doesn't matter if you spent. Yeah, Mace says if you don't matter if you spent 14 hours making this soup. If it tastes like shit, I ain't having it.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Look, there was I'm guessing it's still a thing, but this might be more of an effect that I haven't kept up or just don't care anymore. But there was for a period of time where one of the selling points of video games, certain sandbox video games, was like these, like it was always like extremely huge world where you can just go wherever you want and see all kinds of cool things and blah blah blah. And it's like, yeah, okay, the world was big, but essentially it was empty. There's nothing going on. It's just there's a large generated world that's in many ways beautiful, sure, but if that's a game I wanted, they could have set that up front. But in terms of experience, in terms of like things to do and like meaningful content, it was extremely lacking, like very lacking. It's
things
just
to do is often translated into tasks, which
Yes.
I feel like is not
It's
super
very-
intuitive.
well, it also very quickly became very formulaic, as in if
Yeah.
you wanted to have a lot of things to do in a large world, it's not that I don't understand why they do it. It's just it becomes a matter of pragmatism. You cannot in a huge giant world have just like loads and loads of custom made experiences after the other. It's simply not pragmatic. So you are forced to create a sort of a formula and even some generated aspects of this. This you see some of this, like I'm not saying Skyrim didn't have a lot of cool stuff going for it. It does.
No,
But a
It
lot
totally
of
does.
lot of the things you have ended up seeing is that like I remember you having to visit the same cave for the third time because a new band of vampire or bandits or something like that had like it was the secret hideout, and then it was a vampire coven, and then it was like some other thing, and it was just very formulaic. Like it's the same thing that went on every single time. You could tell like it was just generated for a very like straightforward quest. And that's the
Right.
result. That's what you get when you have a thing like that going on. Like you cannot avoid it in some sense.
no, you can't. The scope gets bigger, and I think the intent is to design something that is formulaic, so that way they can continue to do it every year. And
Yes.
I think that's where we kind of like as a kid, those weren't the goals for most games. They weren't trying to make a formula early on. They just wanted to make something because they threw money at everybody and anybody who could program a video game. And then eventually that became a profession that anyone can get into, especially in the late 80s and early 90s. It became way more of a profession. And a specialized one at that. You get paid very well because you were able to continue. At least that's what I was told. I don't know. Some people say, I wasn't paid very well and I worked at this big thing. That's fine. I get it. Some people aren't going to get the money for it. I understand.
I mean, the video game industry isn't extremely lucrative for a lot of people. Like that's
No.
It's if you ever want to make money in video games, unless you're the owner of the place and have a very good idea or something like that, you're not gonna come out of the game industry a well-paid individual. That's not happening in most cases.
No, not unless you're literally a CEO who's just trying to hop companies and make money on investments. And there's nothing against those people. They have
No.
their uses in society, but
Yeah.
but there's too many people trying to get into that line of work that have made a mess of things.
Oh, yeah.
Quite frankly. And I think there are also a lot of people who just didn't belong in the CEO seat for anything, but they got in there, and we have to deal with them because that's what happens when you give people who have very little experience a lot of power over
sure.
anything.
Oh, for sure.
And yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, by the way, Rambler, I will absolutely power wash your car if I can stand on the hood of your car like I'm currently standing on the hood of this Thunderhawk.
Yeah.
No, sorry, I interrupted you. Carry on.
No. It's fine. I mean, I'm just talking here. The other part I wanted to mention too was you always talked about wanting to make games, and we talk about wanting to make something.
Oh yeah.
And I have the equipment here to make something. I've been wanting to make an FMV game for as long as I can remember, and I think I'm going to.
Oh yeah, you're talking about the one where like with green screen and putting in real people into the game and that kind of thing.
Yeah, because I really enjoyed that. There's something fun about mixing in actors and real people into the environment that, you know, I don't know, maybe it's just an aesthetic I enjoy, and most people don't. But I do, because I think 3D by itself really kind of comes down to how good the 3D modeler for people are. And most 3D modelers for people usually end up working at a place like Square Enix, making Final Fantasy, because they make some of the best character models in the business. And that's a fact. You can go look at the majority of artists that have worked for Square Enix, and their people design is insane. Environment and people design are two separate skill sets, in my opinion. And it's something it does, not even 3D. That's just an art in general. Some people are amazing at drawing mechs and machines and, you know, technical stuff. They are absolutely horrid at drawing people.
Oh yeah.
Like Bob Ross would say, he was amazing at painting landscapes.
Yeah.
And he could do them very quickly if he wanted to, but the ones he took his time on, his own personal pieces, are like insanely detailed.
Yeah.
And he says, I can't draw people. And he wasn't lying. It's not because he can't, it's just not his thing. And so you need a combination of somebody who can complement both the 3D of the environment and the 3D of a person. And oftentimes they don't hire those people because of reasons I'm assuming have to do with money and ego, probably a bit of both.
Oh, look, I shout out to my good. There's a good friend of mine that I don't speak much to anymore, but just shout out to a good friend of mine who's from I think it was not Switzerland but Belgium. He was nicknamed Mr. Hoot, and he was actually part of my first attempt at making a small indie game company. It was called Top Hat Interactive. And the one thing, like, now that I've given him a little shout out and sort of most love to people like that, the one thing I learned about game artists and especially concept artists and stuff like that is, much to their credit, as talented as they are, I really cannot couch this enough, is that quite a lot of them are also a bit of a drama queen, I'm sorry to say.
Oh yeah, I got that 2005. It was the first year I actually ever went to college, and I originally went in for electrical engineering.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to work on electronics in general, and I still do, but I haven't been to school for it, so not going to happen professionally. But that aside, I ended up finding I needed electives, so I ended up going to theater, because I'd never experienced theater my whole life. I've been to movie theaters, but never like play theaters. So I was like, yeah, I'll give this a shot. Why not? And I ended up becoming really into doing it, but then I found so many adult people are just child brain, and that's a lot coming from a guy who, you know, at 2005 was 18.
Right.
Yeah, I was 18. Being child brain is normal. You're fine having child brain at 18. If people expect you to be an adult immediately at 18 because our ancestors did, it's a different environment now.
Yeah. Completely.
Back then, you were already working by the age of 10.
Oh yeah.
So it's like, so when I finally go to theater, and these people were complaining about like the bottled water quality.
Yeah.
I realized that I am among aliens.
Yes.
And that's artists in general. They're all like completely different, unique, absolutely insane people.
Yeah. No, and what's even worse is that, like, I experienced this when I was at CCP in Iceland, is that it wasn't all of them. Some were a bit more good at containing it, but giving them feedback, like, it's almost counterintuitive. I remember thinking to myself very early on, is that they're supposed to create concept art and stuff that's going to be visual, and there's like their main source of getting this right is by getting feedback from the people they're making it to. But if they don't nail it, or somehow people aren't like feeling it, and they're like, you know, I get what you're going for, but maybe we could try a little this or this and the other,
They melt.
They completely just collapse, and just they can't take it. They will go nuts, and it's just like it's that they will be the people when either they'll go nuts right there when you give them the feedback, or they will just go on a long tirade afterwards about like, man, they don't fucking understand this, like one thing or the other about like what they've made. They always hate what I make, and it's like, dude, you don't understand. This is what you're doing is you turn this into programming, and it's exactly the same. Like we create shit all the time where it's like, yeah, I get what you're going for, but it doesn't. Could you maybe make it more like this, or maybe make it more like this? And people just, you got to deal with it. But yeah, no, artists quite often, and again, trying to be as nice about it as I can, quite often massive drama queens. Like they were not. They were not adult about
there's
this.
there's like a point where you have to be like, all right, let's be reasonable, even if you don't like what's happening.
Yeah.
Reason should always come first when you're working on a collaboration with somebody, because even if this person did something that you don't understand, you need to find out in a reasonable way, and that is not by throwing a tantrum. I promise you, you'll get better results if you don't. However, a lot of people aren't trained to, raised to do that. They're told, the world is yours to do with as you wish.
Yeah, no,
what they're not taught is that people will still punch you in the fucking face.
Yeah, but also that whatever you produce, as much as you think that's awesome, and I'm not saying it isn't, like it could be awesome for a different reason, and even the stuff you create could be just fine, but you have to understand maybe it's not fine for that specific thing that's being made. It's not what they're looking for. It's not that you're a bad artist, or not that what you've created isn't cool, but like, do you understand? Like, it's the difference between thinking neon lights is cool, but maybe not so much as at a funeral. Like, you see what I mean?
Yeah, well, it's like some people, I said, like, you got to smack somebody around. Like, some people just never been punched in the face before.
Yeah.
It's a similar. You don't need to punch people in the face for them to learn anything. But there are some people who definitely can learn from being punched in the face.
Oh yeah, no, there are. Definitely...
I'm not saying that it works on everybody, because there are some people where that just doesn't do anything.
Right.
Like me, I am confidently weird, even to the point where people have threatened violence on me, and I don't care.
Well,
there's nothing that they can do that I have never experienced before.
Yeah, but you probably have been punched before, so that's a different
story.
Oh,
many times. Many times. By my brother, by my family, by friends, by everybody.
Yeah, so the punching doesn't work on you. That's the thing.
No. But I learned at least people are willing to listen to reason and be less willing to punch you in the face. Because I am weird too, artists. I'm incredibly strange.
Yeah. No,
but I don't have to force that on other people. That's not who I am.
Right. Yeah. No, and I also just want to say very quickly, like I'm not sort of some saint over here who didn't have my moments where what I did, where I just somehow internally or in some other way expressed that, like, I don't really understand why you guys don't see how awesome this is, and you guys are wrong and not me, kind of thing. Like, I'm not an angel when it comes to that, but from a very early age, and also when I got into working in the game industry, like, you have to understand why you're doing all this and what's like who you're working with and sort of what you're trying to achieve. You have to sort of understand that, like, this isn't about you, so to speak. This is about, we're trying to achieve something here, and if what you create isn't exactly as what they were hoping for, like, it's not sort of put on you as like, oh, you're a failure. It's more like, look, the reason you're there at all is because obviously you have a skill that they want. The feedback you're getting is more like and a part of the iteration process for creating the cool thing that they're looking for. If they didn't think that you had the talent and didn't think that your contribution was worthy, you wouldn't be there. Like, so the
exactly that I feel is something that I often have to address in my own head, because I mean, you've heard me have my anxiety problems about everything I work on, and it always comes down to me worrying that I'm not doing enough. And I think that's just a product of constantly working since I was a kid, and that's not a healthy way to handle anything. And I'm
No.
trying to teach. It's easier for me to say to other people than it is for me to do that. So I can tell people I relate with them on, and instead of telling them, oh, you shouldn't do that, I say I relate with that. I've done that before. I've been there.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And I got punched in the face for it. So then I learned.
That's the way to learn. Like I know, and sometimes like Krillzilla is right. Is that sometimes the punch in the face will just amplify some of the preconceived notions you have if it's sort of done in the wrong way. And by the way, punching in the face doesn't have to be actual literal. It can be in many different ways.
Yeah.
But
some people get a bad review, and it's hard to okay. Like a bad review isn't like, oh, you suck. I mean, a bad review is someone who's so good at critiquing, but they make you feel bad. Like that's a review where you're like, oh man, I really messed up. And I've had a couple of people like that in my life, and I wish I could still talk to them because for some reason when I was younger, I just thought they were assholes, and maybe they probably were. But now I'm like, well, wait. Yeah, but now I'm like, whoa, wait. Maybe they actually see something I don't. Because now I know what their opinions are. Like, I know what their disposition is going to be initially. So I can go in and be like, hey, is this any better? Because I don't want that. I'm not there to impress them. Their review is just so striking. And there are artists who cannot deal. They cannot cope. They're like, oh my word, how could you possibly say...
Yeah.
Do you not know I have so many mental things you don't even understand? And it's like, yeah, we all do.
We all have problems.
Come on, man.
This is one of the things that I wish more people would understand is that, especially...
I'm not trying to downplay what you got. I'm just trying to tell you we all got it.
Yeah. That's like, it's just the one thing I wish more people would understand. And as you say, not at all to downplay that people have issues. No. People do. And that's, it's hard. And I'm not saying like, you I don't know how to couch this properly, but the point is that we all have issues. I have issues. You have issues. Everybody's got issues. Like everyone.
We got more issues than Sports Illustrated, man.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great way of putting it. Everybody's got issues. And it's no good bringing that up in terms of like, you have to understand I'm dealing with this and that and the other.
You don't get me, man.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't get it.
You don't understand. I've just been through a lot of stuff. I'm like,
yeah, I do get it. I actually understand. And I am 100% here to support you. However, stop.
Yeah, but look, exactly. I will happily be there for you, especially if we like. In some ways, we're friends, and we have like we'll hang out and stuff like that. I'll be there for you, man. I'm there for you. But that aside, reel that shit in. Calm yourself. Breathe. Like get a hold of yourself, because we got shit to do. Okay, like it's just you have to be able to handle this. You have to be able to work this out.
It's funny is we have like every time we bring this up, there's always like a hypothetical person that we build in our head.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember, I wish I could remember what me and my friend Mal said. This was like back in like 2002. We said something about like, yeah, we all have these weird critics in our head. I was like, yeah, I think mine is like a Pizza Hut employee manager from the 70s who just tired.
What does he sound like? Can you give me a sample of what?
Hell yeah, brother. Hell yeah. Just as hell yeah, brother to everything.
Just hell yeah, brother.
The scorching pain of 1,000 suns burning our planet alive. Hell yeah, brother.
Hell yeah, brother. I was just imagining, like, what does a Pizza Hut manager sound like? This? He's just like he's just giving up on everything.
Yeah, they did. Well, it's because he knows that the employees that he hired are going to either leave next week because this is not a job they want to do, or the next person they hire is not going to pass the drug test. So he's like, I have to do 2 12-hour shifts on the weekends. It's amazing. Yeah, that's where he's at mentally.
He's just completely overwhelmed with this prospect. Like, that's a unique perspective in some sense. Like, everybody like comes into that place, they think like, oh, I'm just having so many problems. Like, have you stopped for a second to look at this, balding middle-aged Pizza Hut manager who's just like he's peaked. Okay, do you realize what his perspective is? Do you realize like you're worried about like what's going on in your current life at the moment and whether you'll make this, that, and the other. You're just here temporarily as you go on to greater things. This guy, he's in a Pizza Hut as a manager. Like, think about that for a second. I'm not disparaging Pizza Hut managers, by the way, but still, kind of sounds.
Well,
like
it's like any, managers in any sort of like, copy paste food or grocery store that has to deal with customers on a daily basis, and then bad attitudes from employees who just don't want to be there because their life also sucks, and so they take it out on them. It's like a constant negative loop that feeds on things.
Yeah.
And sometimes that person is in my head as a critic. He's like, "Hell yeah, man! Hell yeah, brother!"
Whenever you think something,
that's his only criticism.
Yeah, he just reinforces your negative thoughts.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no.
Well, it's managers in chain restaurants tend to be stuck in their role. Yeah, because nobody wants to do that. They don't even want to. They just realize, I need the money, and I don't want to work under somebody who's just going to end up screwing me over on that. Because they can make their own hours. So they look at it as an opportunity for a lot of it. But then you end up with managers that just suck.
Oh, yeah.
Just not good at doing anything, and they shouldn't be there, but for whatever reason,
they are.
Charisma or something,
yeah, or just like you are the least mediocre guy we got for the job. I don't even know if that's true. I don't know shit about restaurant managers, but it's always come across to me as sort of, if you put it into perspective of like someone thinks they have issues working for a restaurant as an employee and they bitch about it. I'm just thinking like, man, think about the guy who's like, that's his career. That's all he got. That's gotta suck.
Yeah. And then he has to sit there and listen to people younger saying about how this job sucks and their life isn't going anywhere. That person's been there for like 40 years.
Yeah. It's like you have your whole life ahead of you to develop and do great things, and this guy is in his 50s or whatever. He's got nothing going on at this point. Like,
a good manager in that position would be trying to find employees other opportunities that would fit them better.
Mm-hmm. Oh, for sure.
Because they know it sucks.
Oh,
and
yeah.
they don't want them to leave. They want them to feel like they got something out of it. That's
Absolutely.
a good one.
That's a good manager.
I worked with a manager like that when I was 18. His name was Jack. And he, I talked to him quite a bit. He was an older man, and I asked him about Vietnam because he lost a lot of friends in Vietnam. And he said, I didn't go. I didn't draft dodge. I just wasn't able to go. And he felt like when he worked in that store, he didn't have anybody else that, he didn't have his friends, he didn't have nothing. He just had the store and its employees. So he made sure to take care of everybody. And he became kind of like the store dad. Because he wanted to have this. He shared like quite a few nuggets of wisdom at random, and I listened to as much of it as I could. But I think one of my favorites was like, well, Mike, everybody picks the same path in life when it comes to their profession. They go to college, they could do whatever. They always pick the same life, but the ones that always end up having either the worst or best times are the ones who take the path least traveled. He's like, there's no in between there. He said, tread carefully. And I was like, yeah, that's really, like, that blew me away. 18-year-old me.
Yeah. I'm 18 years old, and that's deep. No, no, but it's true.
No adult had ever talked to me like that before, so I was just like, whoa.
Yeah. Well,
I met a Jedi.
Yeah. But also it gives off that vibe like somebody who cares, like somebody who genuinely cares to give you a decent piece of advice.
Yeah, he did.
And that's nice. So, shout out to Jack wherever he is for,
probably still working there.
Yeah, spilling some good beans, Jack. If you're out there, you're a good man. Hell yeah.
My chances are he's probably retired by now because he was an older man when he was there. He was it wasn't like a weaker, like, oh, I can't move. He was a very active older man. It was just, I'm 37 now, so
right.
So he's probably hopefully retired or at least doing a job that isn't that anymore.
Right. Yeah. Hopefully he's having a good time. I think that's the best summation of it. We hope he's having a good time.
He would be in his late 70s, early 80s at this point. So I'm nah, I hope you're not back there still stocking things. Hope you finally found someone to replace you.
Yeah, probably. Well, let's hope so. You know, because Jack sounds cool. But back to just to briefly mention the whole thing about doing stuff. I see this I see this a lot, and I wish I didn't see it as much. Like, because I mean, have I dedicated my time to things where it didn't pan out to be a really great thing that wasn't worth a lot and stuff like that? Yeah, I have. I've dedicated my time and spent time doing things where I'm like, this went nowhere. But here's the thing, though.
You can't let that you can't let that make that become a fear of your next project.
Like, because it's the only way to
feel that.
Yeah, it's very easy to, but it's the only way to get somewhere. But and also, there's a saying that my father used to say to me, which was there's nothing so bad that it isn't good for something. And it's like you can think all the way to the worst things you might imagine, including it's gonna sound weird, but including death. There's like loss of family and stuff. There's nothing so bad that it isn't good for something. There is something to be learned and to be gained in most cases for anything.
Yeah. Basically, he's saying don't despair. Nothing is a total loss ever.
No, it's never a total loss. There's always something to be gained. Like some of the things I've built, some of the things I've engaged in has taught me something and has given me something that I can move on with.
See, younger me would have said Duke Nukem Forever, but it turns out that people are actually making the 2001 version of Duke Nukem Forever, and it looks awesome. So, again, your dad was right. Nothing is lost. We will get the Duke Nukem we were promised in that 2001 trailer, and I am super excited for that because that actually looks like a fucking baller-ass game.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It looks better than Duke 3D, because the problem with Duke 3D, I played all of the games. I don't really care about Duke 3D. I like the character, but the gameplay is just so whack. Like sorry, but the level design always makes me mad past, like, I think the first few stages. Like, the first few stages are great, and then it just becomes, oh, you didn't find that hidden crack in the wall underneath the water that leads to a tunnel. Dude, get the fuck out of here. Why would I do that? Why would I go under there and think, oh yeah, there's got to be a way into maybe it's this crack down here. No, I never think that. I'm so glad people decided that wasn't a great gameplay decision. It made it a little different.
Oh, you're right. There are some games where like it's the hidden stuff and the fun stuff is so convoluted. It's like, yeah, but if you find this cool thing, you blah 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 blah.
I love the combat of Duke 3D. I like the overall character. Like, dude, his lines are legendary. Like, everything about it's great. But then nobody talks about the level design, which is just like.
There's probably a reason for that. There
are some good levels in there, but then there are some levels where I go, hey, the progression requires me to basically trial and error pump every wall. That's not gameplay I want to make. I don't feel empowered as Duke Nukem humping random walls, hoping to find some sort of exit to whatever objective I'm trying to get to.
I can't decide if
that's adventure game logic 100%.
Oh yeah. No, I can't decide though if Duke Nukem humping a wall repeatedly is like very Duke Nukem or not very, because
he's a very horny man.
He's a very horny man. The voice actor though, I can't remember what's his name again.
John St. John.
He's so awesome. Like, he's the greatest character.
Yeah.
I've seen video clips of him where he's had a video game, like he will like speak into like people's voice messages and stuff like that. It's so good. He's just he has that sense of humor by like naturally, where he's just like can spit these things. It's amazing. Giant cannon.
Yeah.
Wasted 6 years in university without anything physical to take out. In hindsight, it was necessary to get a little less Stupid, says Krill. So no, you're right. See, there you go.
Yeah. That was peak gameplay in 1994. Yeah, it was. Yeah, I will say, yeah, I would agree with Grimace on that. If you go to college, it's not to waste your time, ever. Even if it's
No.
something that doesn't really lead to a great career, there is a huge amount of shit you can learn from other people. You can make friends. You can, find interests and things you didn't. It basically, what college does is it gets you get your brain thinking into trying different things. If you're the kind of person who wants to do it. Some people just, I'm going to just go in, be an engineer. That's great. And you'll get to learn a lot more about engineering, but also yourself.
Absolutely. And I really want to emphasize this, is that you might be the person who knows already what he's going there for, and that's cool. But really, like, if you're going to a place like that, if there are anybody out there doing this sort of thing right now, that place, it's not there for you to sort of get your standard degree and whatnot. It's there for you to experiment with ideas and for you to try things and you to work things out.
It's the place where you can mess up, because if you try to get into a job making those mistakes, they'll fire you.
Yeah.
And I'm I had to be lesson to hard knocks about that. When I got into film, it was the same thing. I didn't get a degree from it, but I learned a hell of a lot about film and myself.
Yeah.
To the point where I knew what I wanted to do with film.
Yeah, exactly. And go ahead.
Yeah. I was going to say, it didn't align with what my teachers wanted to do, but that's not the point of me going.
Right, and this was about the thing I was about to emphasize, is that don't misunderstand like what the standard thing you hear about college, where it's like, listen to the teachers and follow the lesson plan and blah 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 blah. Forget all that. You have to, like, if you want to study something and get a feeling for something, go for it. That's cool, but this is about you figuring out who you are and what you like. And so, go off on your own path. Like, don't be afraid to follow your own instincts about these things. If you feel something's off about whatever the teacher's teaching you, like, look, bad teachers exist. Your way of learning might be different. All kinds of things goes on. Follow what your mind is telling you. Like, if something clicks with you, pursue it. See where it takes you. Because college and all these, it's different in Denmark, I'm sure, but I'm sure the principle is relatively the same. You work out who you are. That's what it's about. Like, don't worry about, like, the piece of paper that says, oh, I have XYZ degree. No, it might be important for some people, but this is about figuring out where your passion is, and sort of.
It's a checkbox on a resume for a lot of jobs, but if you don't have it, you'll just get looked over for any higher positions.
Sure. This might
unless you work with a company with people if you know somebody, then you'll get in. But if you're just trying to apply somewhere and you don't know anybody there and you just want to work there, if you don't have a degree, they don't, they're gonna probably not want to look at your stuff unless you have a really outstanding portfolio or they need some sort of verification that you're not just bullshitting them.
Right.
And I understand why they do it, but also college is a little bougie at times, very expensive in America, and also a huge amount of time.
This could also be a cultural thing, by the way, because this is where my experience slightly departs from this. Because in the world that I've lived in, where with the game industry and professional software industry here in the parts of Europe, like in Denmark and Iceland and stuff like that, I've never had sort of like the huge, okay, so I have what's it called? Software science, what's called like a science degree in terms of like software development, stuff like that. But I don't have an extensive sheet of things where like, oh, I'm educated to do this and that and the other. What I'm used to is that, first of all, you have to be able to like speak confidently about what you do and sort of make sense of what you do and also demonstrate it. So what matters is that I have these experiences, and what matters is the way I think. As in, what am I like to work with? Am I able to learn things? Like, because that principle, at least here in Denmark and other places, like, it doesn't matter that much that you're not super educated and know a huge amount of things. What matters is, are you the sort of person we can teach shit? Can you work with other people? If we put you into, like, first of all, you have some basic technical skill down. You have some basic knowledge of this stuff and how to work within this team. But how are you as a person? Because between the person who is super skilled and the person who is less skilled, if the guy who's super skilled is like set in his ways and is a massive dick, nobody wants him. Even
Nobody wants to do that.
Nobody wants this guy, no matter how impressive his rap sheet is, one way or the other. But if this guy comes in, he doesn't have a lot of stuff to his name, but he is super stoked. He's ready to go. He has a good attitude. He's friendly. He sort of knows how to joke around, doesn't take himself too seriously. I used to be a technical leader for a large company here in Denmark that did online grocery store, especially during COVID. And my job was actually to assess the technical skill of some of the people we took in. I can't tell you like how many people.
Take care, Natabot.
How you see it, Natabot? Thanks you for being here. How many people I basically just told my managers, like, this guy, like he's been a manager and all kinds of cool things, but look, listen to him. Listen to how he behaves. You don't want this guy. You want this guy over here. He's fresh out of college. He's just gotten his education. He's ready to go. He's a friendly guy. It's like, yeah, but he doesn't have the skills. I'll teach him. Don't worry about it. We'll teach him these skills. He can be taught.
The thing is with degrees, a lot of people that you don't like as managers, not every one of them I know, but a lot of people you don't like as managers typically are people who just got a degree and that's what got them into that job. And they're not good at it. So
yeah,
if you're good at the job and then you go out and get a degree, you'll be a rock star.
Yes.
If you find the right place. It just takes a while.
But that's my point. That's my point is that degrees are.
But then nobody can look you over.
Right.
You won't be put back into the trenches.
You will not. And
at least that's what I hope. There are PhDs out there who just they're having a hard time. PhD is a really tough one to get a job for.
Oh yeah, and also, but that's what I'm trying to say is that my opinion is your educational sort of what you have officially on a piece of paper is a lot less than what.
There we go.
What you have on a piece of paper educational wise is a lot less important than your attitude, your character. Like, this is the good old sort of like the being judged on your merits and your character. Work out how to better yourself as a person. Be someone who people want to work with, who's open to learning things, who's not like an arrogant prick, who considers other people, who's thoughtful, that kind of stuff. Like, if you can work these things out, much better things will come your way. So much more. It's much more important than any piece of paper, in my opinion. What's the time say anyway? How far are we in with this? Maybe we should start.
1 hour and 30 minutes.
We can give it another 30 minutes then. What did I just do? I lifted a... Oh.
Yeah, you cleaned most of this up.
I did. I actually haven't even been paying it. Like, I think my brain has just been like auto cleaning. I haven't really been paying attention to what I've been doing, just talking.
Yeah.
I raised the wing over here. That's kind of cool. Lift. Oh, that's badass. This is looking pretty good. I've only just now been more aware that it's Blood Angels Thunderhawk. For those of you out there who don't know what a Thunderhawk it is basically a transportation attack vessel for Space Marines. So if you see one of these coming, there's very likely angry Space Marines coming with it. Can you fire the cannon? No, I wish I could, but there'd be a giant hole here. Yeah. Dignitaries might also be coming with this thing. What was that thing I just saw? Lift. What was that thing it could lift? Was that lifting the cannon? I wanted to lift the cannon. See if it can do that. I guess not. Lower attack wing. That one.
Would they be angry? Well,
Space Marines are always angry. Oh, would they be angry Marines? Yeah, there is a sort of a mock Space Marine chapter called Angry Marines. That's sort of like they're just angry. They're very, very angry. They're more like making fun of the whole like Space Marine things, because they're basically always angry, just very, very angry.
I didn't. I don't know. Have you ever played the game Shadowgate?
No.
Well, it's a game that originally came out in the 80s, and it was a point-and-click game that was on the Nintendo Entertainment System. Yeah, you're probably thinking there was no mouse, right? You used
Right.
the D-pad.
Yeah.
And it's a game with like a very D&D quality to it. You can die very easily by clicking on the wrong thing, and there's a lot of, and it's very metal. It's a very cool, very like 80s hair metal setting.
Nice.
And it's very nice. So the developers are making the sequel they promised many years ago, 30 years ago. They're making the sequel
Really?
with the same kind of thing. It's on Steam. I just looked it up because I was like, wait, that's the developer for Shadowsgate, and they're making Beyond Shadowgate. It'll be coming out in September.
Hell yeah. That's awesome. I mean, again, there's like, for those of you guys who didn't get to grow up in that age, I'm sorry to say you guys missed out on a lot of cool games. Like, games were fucking baller back then. Some of them were really crap, but that time, some really weird ass game came out back then, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it is. Well, the other thing too is I've just started looking at some screenshots of it. They still want to keep it 4:3, but they added side banners that match whatever theme of the area you're in.
Side
So
banners?
you can still play. So like, you know, there's normally black bars whenever you have a widescreen game,
Right.
or a
yeah.
widescreen from a 4:3 game. So what they did is they put these little animated sidebars to kind of like give you an idea of what kind of area you're in, but they're just there to cover up the black bars. I find that really cool. Like I do that on my stream whenever we're playing a game. I make our own little sidebars so we can put our avatars, and there's just not black on the side. It's just empty, void.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that. I've always been a big like, let's not stretch a game out. Let's just keep it where it's at. If you make a widescreen game, that's fine. But if you make a game and then try to stretch it to widescreen, please don't. Please don't do that.
Yeah, please don't. Have
I don't like.
have
That'll stretch out.
Yeah, have some considerations for the game itself. Don't ruin something. That would be bad.
There's a lot of debate about pixel graphics when it comes to games from that era, where they say, you know, if you have a CRT and then you put the game on nearest neighbor, which is the most square of the pixels that you can put it on, it works perfectly. I'll be quite honest with you. I just like nearest neighbor without the CRT looking thing, because I like how sharp it is. Because I think that's what the pixels originally looked like when they were designed.
Yeah.
Adding in like psi or any of these extra blur effects on it just kind of makes it look washed out or blurry, and I'm like, nah, that's not what they were trying to do. If they wanted it to look like that, they would have made it look like that. It's not something they could have done that in the game. It's not something you have to add. But
sorry.
What?
I was gonna say, is that still a thing that people argue? I remember back when we were this is back.
No,
from
they
the
don't
era.
argue often about it. It's mostly, you know, older gamers. So
Okay, because I remember also one of the things that was an argument back when, like, you know, back when we were gamers and you only had CRT monitors, and then flat screen monitors started coming out, and people started that little thing. It's like, well, actually, if it's CRT, the frame rate is better and the colors are better, blah 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 blah, and all that stuff. And you know, that was true for a while when the new flat screen monitors started coming out. You know, fair enough. But today, I can't think of a reason why I'd ever want a CRT monitor.
if you're playing an older game that originally was designed for inputs that are instantaneous, you want a CRT because it will give you instantaneous feedback, whereas a display is digitally processed, and in that processing there is a time from your button press to your computer to the screen. And with, you know, a CRT, it's literally an analog system. The minute you press that button, it happens, unless the game is garbage. You can't bad programming will make that worse. But
I was gonna say, don't you think you can get away with some emulation in there? Like, I don't think. I mean, maybe there's a point here, and there's just
you can't. Well, that's the thing. You can't be prescient about the buttons that you're pressing. That would be an amazing technology. If somehow the computer knew that you were going to press the A button before you pressed it, so that way it seems instantaneous.
Okay,
that would be an amazing technology.
Okay,
but
so
right now we have a delay.
Okay, but my point was more like, is it, given the speed in which we get things done now with processors and how fast things go and technology of data transference and all the rest, is it really that much of a delay where you notice?
Yeah. Especially with older games. Try playing like Super Mario Brothers on a TV that's from, you know, this era. If it doesn't have a very good millisecond response rate, you're gonna feel it. You're gonna be like, wait, you can get used to it. I'm not saying it's not like unplayable, but that's not the way that you're gonna find things be much harder than you remember them being.
Right.
And
no, I'm
it just comes down to the fact that,
so yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm not, and I'm not judging you for that either. It's just that's just the way the CRTs work. They're instantaneous analog technology, and a lot of the stuff we make nowadays is digitally processed. So there's a delay, and a lot of people are just getting used to the delay. They don't really care. Whereas, you know, if you grew up without the delay, like especially with keyboards, music, and stuff like that, yeah,
I mean,
it becomes you notice it.
But take this game, for instance, like PowerWasher. Like, there's no delay here that's going on that I can detect, even, like...
because it was designed for this monitor. It was designed specifically in this era to interface with this technology, so the delay isn't going to stand out. However, back then, they expected you to be, like, arcade-level good at these games.
Right. No, that's a good point.
Well, I know about the prediction. I know the prediction technology sucks. Confessions of a Ladder Maker, absolutely. It's just,
I've never.
There might be a time in the future where we could take advantage of that, but for something to be prescient of what you're doing, starts to venture into, you know, I guess anxiety for a lot of people. They don't like computers knowing more than they do. And then they want to rely on them to know things that they don't. So it's a weird catch. We're a very strange species.
Oh yeah. No question of it. We are very weird. Trying to get this turbo laser. I like the fact that this weapon is called a turbo laser destructor. It's not enough that it's a laser, nor it needs to be a turbo one, and it's not just enough that it's a turbo laser, it needs to be a turbo laser destructor.
Yeah.
Yeah, welcome to Games Workshop naming company. Yeah, I know, you're right. This is like very Games Workshop.
Yeah, I enjoy the I don't really care about the CRT aesthetic, but I enjoy analog a lot. For me, it's like it depends on what the game was. Like if you have a piece of art and it was made to be displayed in a specific frame, then yeah, put it in that frame. But if it's you're just trying to port like an oil painting like from a Renaissance into like one of those like modern art frames, it's gonna stand out. It's gonna look different. Very brutalist. The brutalist Mona Lisa painting, my favorite. She's just recessed into a stone wall surrounded in darkness.
Oh yeah, on a concrete apartment building.
Yeah. Oh wow. Yeah. There you go. That's super. Yeah. You see, you do well at a modern art museum. They'd love to have you.
Yeah. No, I'd have a miserable
You just have to get cool with a lot of stuff really fast.
Yeah, no.
Because you think of modern art, and then whatever you're thinking of is absolutely going to not be. It's like dealing with the warp in 40K.
Yes.
But as a person, people have that as a personality. So
it's just, I sometimes feel there's a lot of like people lie to themselves when they talk about modern art, even just calling it art in some cases. Like I know it's not all in one box and not all art is the same, but there's a lot of stuff that's called quote unquote modern art where I'm like, when you guys stand there with your thoughtful expressions, finger on chin, and going, yes, yes, I see what's going on here. It's most definitely a symbolism of our,
Oh yeah, those people are totally just. Those people are just. Tax grifting. They're not really. They're not really. They don't care. They're in the art community because they made bank on scamming people.
Yeah.
So.
And you can see it in their.
They continue to do it, and nobody cares because nobody but them are buying that crap. So.
Yeah, it's probably
eventually the IRS will catch up with them. Yes, exactly. Eventually the IRS and the FBI will catch up on them. They never get away because most of them are stupid.
Oh yeah, but it's just I've always like you. I don't know. It's almost like a instinctive response. You see them there standing there. I don't know why they always have that like black, very tight-fitting turtleneck shirt and that stupid beret and glasses and everything. It's like, yes, this quiet thing here is from the postmodernist man picking an apple under the duress of life. Yes, it's most distressing. But it's very beautiful. It's like it's a circle with 3 splats on it. What are you talking about? Like there's someone had their ketchup like accidentally like spilt on this thing halfway through.
You've walked into the classic trap. Let me explain to what you just walked in on.
What?
This is something that people who, like you just described, like to do. They set themselves to make the most absurd observations with a vague hint of deepness behind their thoughts, just so someone like yourself, who only sees the circles, can come in and say why. They want to have that conversation with you. They want to feel validated that someone heard them. You know what I do when they do that? I ignore them. They hate that. They absolutely despise that. I just go, okay. Are you into art? I change the subject. I don't let them drag me into their bullshit mind space that doesn't make any sense. Because I'm with you.
Yeah. You could be right about that, actually.
They're leading. There's people hunger for your dissatisfaction that makes them feel validated that somehow what they're seeing is better. When you start agreeing with them, that's when they hate it. That's when they hate you. How could you agree with them? They'll pretend to like you, but then they're looking for a reason why you're agreeing with them. They're like, wait, that wasn't my intention. And there's a lot of people who do this. It's absolutely insane. People are like, oh, people on YouTube leave these mean comments. Or like, have you ever been to like an art show? Those people are real. They're right there. They're trolling and waiting for somebody from their perspective to have some sort of low IQ or whatever they think that someone's going to come in there with.
It's a honey trap? Is that what you were saying?
Like, yeah, a honey pot, yep.
Yeah, they're trying to goat me into this shit.
Yep.
It's just like to feed
they know that
off
you're.
Of my...
They know it's just a bunch of circles, and they know that you're going to get upset. But they like poking the gorilla. That's their fucking thing, and it's so evil. I hate it.
You could be right about that. I don't know. For me, it's always been the perspective of like, you're trying, like you have nothing else going on. Everything you did was you failed at. You have no real skill. You have no actual ability to add anything useful to everybody's existence.
They're on the same level you are. They're just going to pretend to be better at it than you are.
Well, no. My point about this is that so in order to compensate for this, they stand there and pretend that they're able to have deep thoughts about something, and
initially,
to lie to themselves about what's going on.
And then eventually they start believing it, and then they never stop.
They try to infect me with it. Is that what you're saying?
Mm-hmm.
God damn it.
I had to deal with this in every art form I've ever worked in. There's always a pretentious moron who thinks way too much. Like, I'm like, yeah, I can come up with heady stuff too, dude. But it's about the moment in which you say it. If you choose the wrong moment to say your super deep thing in the art world, you're just going to look like a dick. It's like, okay, well, can you give the rest of us whatever you're smoking?
Yeah.
Because that would be great.
Like, you're clearly having an experience here that the rest of us are throwing up over, but to you, it's like, you know, the best piece of pie you've ever had. Please do share. Is it mushrooms? What are you having there? Come on. Pass it over, because like I'm bored to tears. I can't begin to tell you how much my face and soul is turning into a raisin at the prospect of having to stand here for 5 more seconds. Like that's
You know, I'm gonna change it to a subject really quick to something that's been bothering me about characters in video games.
All right.
It's characters in video games who have authority and somehow end up becoming a problem for you to deal with because they're unreasonable. Like, what's a good example? I've been on this Mass Effect kick because I've been trying to I've been studying Mass Effect and also taking notes on like what I like, what I don't like. Because as I said, I'm dead serious about making this game. It's not going to be Mass Effect. I'm making something entirely different. It's just I'm learning lessons from storytelling. And that's what you do in film too. If you want to learn how to do editing of something that you really enjoyed, like if you watch a scene of a movie and you really enjoyed the editing for it, watch it without audio. Absolutely, just watch every frame of it without any sound whatsoever and pay attention, and you'll eventually pick it up. It's that easy.
Really?
You don't have to go to 2 years of school to learn that skill. You literally just start doing it now.
All right, cool.
And I started doing that with a lot of games I've been playing. All the point-and-click games we played, I've been taking notes and trying to figure out like what I want, what I like, what I don't like. And I remember in Andromeda, the really bad Mass Effect no one liked, and I was like, well, why isn't it good? And I realized it's just because they have really, really shitty character, like not designs, just really shitty fucking characters. You have a director lady who's like, I can't believe everyone around me is so incompetent and I can never get anything done. I'm like, immediately, all right, you're book. Immediately you lose all respect for me if you start complaining about people working under you in an emergency situation. No, not at all.
Oh, I know an example of this. Mech Commander. Remember the intro to Mech Commander? You remember that?
Yeah.
There's that lady where like he has to do his job. He has to do a sweep across the area, and he has like I can't remember her name, or does he even have a name? Like his immediate commanding officer and stuff like that. And she's being like a real bitch. I don't even know why I spelled it out rather than just saying. But she's like being all there. She's trying to do this. He's like, what is it she says? She says some really patronizing things and puts on a face. It's like, you know, well, I think we can assume that the commander can handle this. Begin, landing procedure.
Passive aggressive,
very passive aggressive.
And I'm like, who? Because that's the thing. If somebody did that to me in real life, I wouldn't lose my shit at them. I would ask them if everything's okay, and if they go, oh no, everything's fine. I'm like. Yeah. You don't seem fine. You seem like you're really upset about something.
Yeah.
No, and exactly. If they get really defensive about it, I'm like, hey, I'm just curious. You got super passive aggressive out of nowhere. And yeah. I know that arguing with some people at that level is like nearly impossible. You're never going to win. I'm not there to win the conversation. I'm trying to figure out what their fucking problem is. That's all I'm trying to do. Yeah, I don't want to win any conversation with those people. I just want them to chill the fuck out.
Exactly.
Because they are absolutely out of their fucking mind.
Yeah, totally. And it's a confession of a ladder maker. Is actually, that's the one. It's like, I have an invasion to go to. Why are you holding up? That's her attitude. Like, I remember that. Yeah. It's like, what the fuck? Why are you being such a fucking bitch?
Well, it's like, okay, I can't get into any job in aerospace without at least having some level of professionalism and understanding of aerospace.
Yeah.
That could be airplanes going into NASA, whatever. Mm-hmm. I need some understanding of that. But if the director of NASA said something shitty to me and said, sorry, my face is tired, I'd be like, dude, step the fuck down. I don't give a shit. I'm like, dude, I get it. I'm not trying to hate on you. You need to take a break. And I get that.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. No, yeah, you're totally right. It's because the moment you started describing that, like, who's someone who's working above else and they're being a really difficult person and stuff like that, I immediately thought,
why are you being difficult? You're in charge.
Yeah, like you just have to wait for people to do like why are you
never be frustrated at the people who work with you.
Yeah.
Not openly. Don't do that. That's not a good thing. You work that out with them in back channels. You don't do that in front of everybody, because that's insanity. I'm like, I've never met people like this in my life. And I've been through so many different kinds of jobs.
Yeah, even Picard had the decency to take somebody to his ready room, you know?
Yeah, let's go have a chat about this in the ready room. We have people trying to work on the bridge.
Yeah.
This dude over here on Science Station 2 is trying to finish up his mineral analysis before 0700.
Yeah.
And he has 30 minutes left. He doesn't want to hear about your feelings right now.
Yeah.
He needs to concentrate. Let the fucking guy work.
Exactly. Like, why do you have to put on a goddamn sort of scene? Like, is that what you're short of? Your little moment where you get to show everybody that you're in charge, and by the way, you need to be put in your place?
It's a writing thing.
Yeah.
It's a writing thing. And I'm like, well, here's the thing, writers. Who are these? Can you write about these people that you've met that are exactly like this, so we can understand? I want to do the study with you. I want to know who these people are too, because I don't want something that you just created off the top of your head because you need, air quotes, somebody difficult. Dude, difficulty doesn't have to come from shitty attitudes. Come on.
No, and even when the more I think about it, now that you put it that way, when I'm thinking about the mech commander scene again with the guy who has to do the sweep and everything, like there was no need at all. Like she could have been just not been there at all. But never mind. If he just had been a normal commanding officer who had been asking for an update, the same exact scene could have happened with the same set of response. He could still have said that whole thing about like, let's get the job done, people, blah blah blah. She doesn't need that attitude in order to have the rest happen the way it does. Like,
some people's brains and their whole personality never leaves high school, and that's a real fucking shame.
Yeah, it is.
It really is. Their whole personality is based on whatever they did in fucking high school. And so they still have the same shitty attitude. And it just bothers me. I'm like, dude, I'm older now. Come on.
Yeah.
It's a shame and a problem. It is. It's a total shame, because it's like, obviously you got to this position somehow. There has to be some merit in something you do. I'm not seeing it, but I'm not saying it's not there.
Yeah, that is poor writing, because why would someone who behaves like that commanding officer, like that total, like I have the mentality of a 19-year-old high school, whatever.
I remember all of that game. She was just shitty to you. Even when you could accomplish shit, and you're like, oh, you never met somebody who never complimented you? Well, get over it. And it's like, no, I don't want a compliment. That's not what I'm asking. I just don't want someone to be shitty toward me.
Yeah.
Because I'll get shitty right back.
Yeah, it is. I mean, you're right. In Mech Command, everybody's sort of a cartoon, but like, you don't have to be a shitty cartoon. Like, it's just. I feel
like there's too many people who write things trying to hit that like teenager demographic. Usually write like that, and I have to say, like, teenagers actually want to be more adult.
Yeah, they
don't want to act like that. You're the one who wants to still be a kid, and that's understandable. A lot of older people can relate with that. That's understandable as hell. But don't write like that. Kids want to be fucking adults, man. That's all they want to be treated like the rest of us. That's all they fucking care about.
But and also, we all know this, like, because we've been teenagers. What was the one thing we always wanted to have to happen to us when we were teenagers? For people to take us seriously and sort of treat us like we're adults. That's what we always wanted, right?
Yeah, and they're like, oh, well, somebody who doesn't know a professional environment won't get it unless you make them. And I was like, yeah, no, listen. They've never been introduced to one before, so you could do them that favor.
Yes.
You could be the guy who introduces a whole generation of people to what a professional looks like in good writing. You don't have to make a fucking sarcastic dickhead that's in charge of everything, because that's immediately... My goal will immediately be like, I'm not talking to this person, and whatever their quest is, I don't care. They're like, oh, they put me in charge of taking care of the orphans. It's like, well, I guess those orphans are dead because you're in charge of it.
Yeah, that's just too bad. That's just, well, wow. Sucks to be them, I guess.
Yeah, I feel really bad for all those orphans now. They got to
Yeah.
have somebody who's totally unqualified taking care of them.
Yeah, and you know, on further reflection, probably what's the case is the people who put you in charge also don't care about the orphans, and so therefore they're here you are. Like, that's probably
Yeah.
why.
Oh yeah, I start looking at the organization once I start seeing somebody shitty. Because once I realize that this person is just unapologetically shitty because they can get away with it,
Yeah.
I immediately go, okay, well, who is in charge of them, and like,
Yeah.
what are they like, and why would they allow this to happen? And if I find out that they're immediately the same way, I'm like, well, then I don't want.
Yeah.
Bye.
But then
See
it
you
becomes-
later. This is a.
It becomes a question of like, what did I do wrong? Like, who saddled me with these dickheads? Like, why?
Yeah.
What did I do wrong? I must have been really shitty to someone at some point.
Yeah, look, you can't. The thing is like those people have to learn how to fail. They
Yeah.
have to learn how to fail, and that's the thing they've never learned. If they don't know how to fail, then they're absolutely just going to be assholes to everybody. Who, especially overly qualified people, they act super insecure around because they realize that those people are more professional and don't act like dickheads. So they're like, "Oh well, I mean,
Yeah, they got this one. They don't deserve
It's
it.
like, bitch, I'm in fucking Andromeda. I just saved your planet. Get off my back."
yeah,
I'm like, dude, I don't even need to be in this position. Literally anybody else could have, but because of plot, I am. You can't separate me now because of reasons.
yeah. I can't go past you, so I have to deal with your shitty attitude. Oh,
Yeah. That's all. Well, it's like, yeah, it's exactly it. It's like, just get over it, man. Get over whatever is making you an asshole to people.
yeah. Really, like nobody needs this shit. Like it's as if you're the only one who has that thing going.
You want to
It's
know
like,
why you're unhappy? Because you make other people unhappy.
Yeah, no, that's quite literally the case. It's like the whole reason this whole situation is miserable is because you are making it that way.
Ah, exactly.
Like,
You don't want to do that to people,
No.
especially people who are working like in your office or wherever, because then they'll just immediately want to leave. They're like, "Oh, our turnaround is so high. Yeah, that's a fucking red flag. I wonder why."
yeah. Crozilla says these power cleaning streams turn out a mental cleaning. Yeah, much appreciated. Yeah, we're sort
Yeah.
of getting rid of all like the lot of stuff here as well. Just yeah, no, but this is
It's actually a really good meditative technique.
It is.
To imagine yourself when you take your breath in, cleaning yourself.
yes.
Cleansing yourself like an object. You imagine like this ship or a sphere or whatever, and you're wiping the grime away. It's incredibly. I can't explain it. It just works.
It really
it just
does.
works. It really
It
does.
just it really does work. I'm right there with you, man. I'm right there with you. And it's like it's that situation with the shitty guy. Like I'm not being professional is all very well, but even like for a start, if you want to like we could all. Be
I'm not
wearing,
against being casual, but
No, no.
or anything. But like being casually shitty is kind of fucking dumb for a
All-
job that
Yeah.
people's lives depend on. Sorry, but no.
Yeah,
Kids are
all I'm
more
saying is-
willing to learn how to be adults because they're
Yeah.
not going to get that in school.
All I'm saying is, like, instead of being mad right now and being passive aggressive, we could all be wearing party hats. Like, I'm just saying. I'm not okay. We could also be very much professional, but think about your alternative choices here. I'm just saying, within the realm of everything else you could be doing, we could be having like. We could be making a small, fun game out of being successful at this. We could, we could bet a beer over how well I do this. Like, and you could be like, I don't know, wearing a much more colorful shirt or something. I don't know. Just instead of just being a massive turd about the whole situation.
Exactly. Hey, Garmin.
Oh, is that Garmin?
Yeah, Garmin is back.
Why is he? Oh, I know why he's making that noise. He's behind you. He's just hiding behind you. Hold on, I'll just, yeah. All right, let me just, I'm gonna make Crow slightly smaller so he can be dancing.
Hello.
Hi, Garmin. Oh man, it's okay. Now he's.
It's like in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, when the messenger comes in with a bad news, and the king says, "What if you told me that bad news in a happy way?"
Yeah, I just met with Robin of Luxley. He's
Yeah, you don't have to tell bad news in a happy way. You just have to be very You just have to be normal about it. I don't know. Like,
yeah.
maybe it's because, like, growing up, I had a lot of people who were just super yelly all the time. I'm from the Midwest. Everyone.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, at some point, like, that, yelling's not going to make the situation better.
No, actually yelling quite often makes things worse. Like, if you're in a tense situation and things need to happen very quickly, yelling at people, like, this is usually, you see this happen in video games.
Yelling something unconstructive. If you're yelling to get people to move, that makes sense.
Even in a situation where the situation is tense and people need to operate, if you start going, all right, get it, blah, 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 it actually doesn't work that well. You should just, like, you should just tell people what to do in a normal way. So instead of, because what you've done now that you've started yelling at people, it's like, all right, get on the ball, get out there, fucker. Then people are suddenly, like, very stressed and maybe they're, like, not gonna do what you want them to do as well as they might otherwise do. So you're much better off in most circumstances just telling them what they need to do rather than shouting at them. Even in an emergency situation, shouting is not gonna help.
No, unless you have to.
Unless you really have to, unless people sort of are frozen in place and you need to snap them out of it.
You need to snap them out of it. Yeah. Exactly. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. Then shouting could be warranted. But in most cases, no, don't shout.
Shock is real. People experience shock in their own way.
Oh, yeah.
It's a leadership thing. I wish I would have mastered a little better. I never really
shouting.
I don't really like shouting. I don't like yelling at anybody. Makes me feel bad.
Good shouting.
No, well, no. When you play Foxhole, you also give people orders. You don't shout at them unless if people aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing, then you might sort of do a little shout, but then it's back to talking.
Sure, I'm just joking. Hello, everyone.
Yes, Garmin has joined us. He has come to witness the cleansing of this very fantastic Blood Angels Thunderhawk. As we mentioned earlier, circumstances were such that we didn't do the regular stream today, but that's fine. We will get back to it. So instead, cleaning the mess of whatever this thing went through. But yeah, you were talking about the characters you think were bad writing, like the passive aggressive ones.
It's just people in video games in Power who are super passive aggressive and shitty to you for really no reason.
Yeah.
And I don't mind that if it's like their initial reaction because they're just sick and tired of adventurers walking up to them and saying, "I'm going to do this." I'm like, "Okay, yeah, sure, please fucking go kill yourself." Yeah, I get that. I get where they're coming from. They had enough of that shit. There's a lot of opportunists, and they're just like, "Oh, cool." But at least
contextualize it.
Yeah, and then afterwards, you do the amazing. You solve whatever it is. They're like, "Okay, well, sorry, I didn't realize you were actually going to do anything, so I'm actually kind of impressed." Nobody does that. They just go, "Wow, you didn't die." It's like, all right, well, fuck you too. It's like, I won't be doing anything else for you, I guess.
Yeah. Completely unnecessary for them to behave like that.
Like, oh, don't listen to him. He's just a grump ass. And it's like, yeah, he's the one in charge. His grump ass needs to chill.
Yeah, chill the F out. Yeah, no, I completely agree.
But I think this is a good point for us to...
yeah, I think we're reaching the end of this stream. I know Garmin just showed up, but there's still a fair amount of stuff to go with this Thunderhawk, but we can do that some other time, honestly.
What's that? A 6-hour-long stream today? Oh, okay.
No. Not a fucking chance. But I think that we've made a pretty good start at this. I think you guys already pointed out that we've been very efficient here with our Thunderhawk. Yeah. I think we concluded that somehow ash-laden landing or landing in a volcano or some Exterminatus-related thing happened. So this thing, for some reason, is just full of whatever this is. But for that said, thank you guys for joining us tonight for a bit of PowerWash Simulator, still 40K related. And we hope you've enjoyed yourself. We have cleaned both physically and mentally. We've explored many topics of both game development and education and attitudes to life and, you know, whatever is under the sun at the moment, or evening in my case, or night in some case. So, yeah, anything you want to add before we check out here, Crow?
Yeah, just drink water, take care of yourself. It is the weekend. There might be a lot going on in your life. There might be nothing going on in your life, but you have a life, and you should try to take care of it the best you can, because you only get one.
Very well said. And I will say two things. One, don't be afraid to try things. It's only by inaction that you can truly fail. You're supposed to not always get it right, and that is the only way to progress in life. So grab it by the balls and do things. Execute. And secondly, as we always say in Canium, be excellent to one another. Anything you want to add, Garmin?
Oh God, I mean, you guys are being all nice and have like positive messages. I'm not sure what to add.
All right. Well, you don't have to add anything.
Oh,
Glad
okay,
you showed
so
up.
what?
All right.
What's your opinion on pierogies?
The fuck is a pierogi?
There
I
you go,
think
there's
that's a
our
good
end.
way to end. What the fuck is a pierogi? Good night, ladies and gentlemen. See ya.
Good night. Bye bye.
Like thunder from the sky, swore to fight and die. We are warriors, warriors of the world. Brothers everywhere, raise your hands into the air. We are Caniums, warriors of the world.